So I've been a marketer for 15 years, rose to head of UK marketing for a global company, and in 2016 I decided to jump out. You know, I felt like I had built a successful career. I could do this. And then when I actually launched, I realized that it was not that simple. What it took me to build a successful corporate career was not going to equip me to build a successful business. So there was a lot that I had to unlearn and relearn, and it was traumatic. It was traumatic because it's something about having a level of success and thinking you've kind of arrived, and then realizing actually you're going to have to start again. And the business process is brutal, and that's the first thing I want to talk to you about, because before we ever prepare a business plan and prepare practically, we have to prepare ourselves, because a lot of business owners are not prepared for the emotional roller coaster that is. And I know because I felt it and it hit me hard and it's brutal. And so the first thing we have to do is gird ourselves up emotionally for that journey. So I'm an author. I have written the book. Here it is. Momentum, 90 Days of Marketing Tips and Motivation. Won't bore you with the details of that, but it's here and it's on my stand. And I also have a launch planner. But most importantly, I'm a mum and a wife. I've been married for 18 years and I have 2 teenagers, an 18-year-old and a 13-year-old. And for me, marriage and parenting is the best training ground I've ever had for entrepreneurship. The same roller coasters, ups and downs, and you have in relationships and parenting is very similar. But the the key is, if you can make it work, there's nothing on earth like it. So that is very similar to the entrepreneurial journey. If you can make it through, the launch process, you're good. And that's what I want to help you get through that rocky part to get to the end. So that's me, and that's who I am. So I've told you that already. I've told you the journey. To get to know yourself, really get deep, and that's the hard work. Because when you're at a desk doing a 9 to 5, it's great, it has its purpose, but you don't have to do that deep work. When you're launching something, especially when it has legacy in it, especially when it's your life work and something that you want to leave an imprint for, you have to do the deep work for it. And that's where a lot of people fall down, because you think, I can just get a business plan, I can just speak to that consultant. No, you have to understand and get really real with yourself. So there's a couple of tests that I want to recommend for you. One is the 16 personalities test, and the other is a paid test called the Kolbe test, Kolbe. And the Kolbe is particularly good because it tells you your natural proclivities. So it tells you, in any situation, how do you most naturally act? So before you do anything, you have to get really comfortable with who you are and understand who you are and understand the role of your business in your life, not just in the business space, but as a human being. There's another thing. Mental illness has been on the agenda quite a lot recently, and rightly so. Entrepreneurs are 30% more prone to depression than other people. There's a reason for that. And so the first thing is, probably the most important prepare yourself for the journey. And tied into this is have an A team. That person, one person on that A team needs to be someone that is your support network. At least one person who you can give them the real of the journey, the ups and downs, and who you know is going to be there for you. You need that person. You also need, no man is an island. I get this concept of being self-made, but I don't believe it. Every level I've been to in life, someone opened the door for me. Someone gave me a word of encouragement. Someone supported me on the journey. So make sure you have supporters. The entrepreneurial community is amazing. Get a tribe around you that can support you. So prepare for the pressure. Point number 1, and I could talk to you guys forever. Can someone give me the time, please? Perfect, thank you. Right, so have a practical launch plan. There's one thing to have a business strategy and plan. There's quite another to have a practical launch plan. See, most organizations and businesses, large and small, fall prey to what is called the planning fallacy. So that is when they underestimate how much a launch is going to cost, and totally also underestimate how long a launch is going to take. typically a launch for my clients takes 6 months. And sometimes when I tell people that, they're like, that's too long, Katrina. I wanted to launch next week or next month. And I'm just like, well, fine. It depends on the type of business that you want to launch. If you are wanting to launch something that is sustainable, long-term, has roots in the ground, 6 months is nothing. And I always say the higher you want to go, the deeper your roots have to be. I laid the foundation for my business. I spent 2 years, and that's indulgent in the sense that I was able to do that. But I spent 2 years, I hired a coach, and I just literally developed the strategy. I'm only now bearing the fruit of that labor. But I know the 2 years that I put into my business is what is going to bear fruit today and for years and years to come. So put in the work, and remember that the higher you want to go, the deeper your roots have to be. You have to lay that foundation. It's not about 6 figures in 6 months. Don't get me wrong. I know people who have achieved that. But it's not about that. It's about sustainability. And sometimes it will look like you're going backwards before you go forward. That is okay. Do not let people pressure you. Build something sustainable, okay? Focus on longevity, not just the launch. So that ties into what I was saying before. Think about, okay, and I'm gonna go into the 6 Ps in a minute, but think about, what does your product mix look like today? What is it gonna look like in the next 3 years? What is it gonna look like in the next 10 years? What is your vision? What does your product roadmap look like? What do you want to be known for? How many people do you want on your team? What type of revenue goals do you want to have? You're not going to know all the pieces, but it's important to know the end from the beginning. At least have that in mind. Where is it you want to go? And that's not for social media. That is for you to know, where are you going? Because what people are seeing now was the vision I had 2 years ago. What is in my head now, what I'm working towards behind the scene, is what won't be visible for for another 5 years. That's okay. We live in a society where we think that if it's not on social media, if it's not in the public domain, it's not real. You know, you let other people do that, that's fine. And there's a place for social media. I'm a marketer, that's fine. But lay the foundation. Lay the foundation, and don't get caught up in where you think you should be, how long it should take. Lay a solid foundation. Don't launch your business in a bubble. Now, this is one of my favorites. Remember that you are launching a business into a context that a lot of things, see, we like to have control, but the truth is there's so much in the business space that we don't have control over. How many of us knew that COVID was happening? And we like to think that we have more influence on, you know, how things are going to be and how they're going to be shaped than we actually do. There's so much in the business space that we're not prepared for. But we can be more prepared than a lot of people are. See, when you're launching a business, you have to think about the political context, the economical context, the social context, the technological context. And I like to use this analogy. If you are driving a car, it doesn't matter if you are driving a Tesla, a Lamborghini, a Porsche. If you are not aware of the pedestrians, the signals, the people around you, you are going to crash. It's not about how good you are. And so many organizations fail because they're not in tune with the external environment. No research has not been done. The people that they're asked is their friends that will say, yeah, your idea is great. There's so much I want to tell you, but a research tip before you. When you are researching a product or a service, don't ask them what they would do, ask them what they have done. So if you are launching an app, don't ask them if they would use your app. Ask them what apps they currently use, because behavior is more of an indication of what people will do than what they say, okay? So you have to do research. You have to understand your market. You have to be an expert in your field. Another tip for you, which isn't in here, but go narrow before you go wide. A lot of people think that if you launch into a niche, you're going to miss the market. All the big brands, Apple, Amazon, started out with a niche. They dominated in a pond and then they expanded. So don't be afraid to narrow down and really become expert in your niche. So don't launch your business in a bubble. So maintain a balanced perspective. Optimism is absolutely fantastic, but it has to be balanced with realism. And I'm going to remember the quote. but not bogged down with pessimism. So you typically have two schools of thought. One school that is incredibly optimistic, that thinks that they're going to be an amazing, incredible, fantastic success. The other one that thinks that it's awful. You need to sit in the middle. You have to have a really balanced view, and that can be painful, because I can't tell you how many times I iterated to get to the launch strategist. I can't tell you how many times I had to pivot to get to the launch strategist, and it's painful, and that's why we don't do it, because when you have an idea that you love and you realize that the market doesn't like it or doesn't love it as much as you do, it is incredibly painful. But better you do it at the beginning before you have wasted a ton of time and money than find out later on. So yes, I get it. I felt the pain many a time, but it's work we absolutely have to do. Have a balanced perspective. Don't be overly optimistic, because life is funny, life is strange. But equally, don't be bogged down by negativity either, but maintain a balanced perspective and be really real about your idea, and get people around you that, we live in a culture that says, if someone criticizes you or says something that's great, they're haters. No. We've gone too far in the other direction. We need people that can critique us. I can't tell you, sitting in front of my coach, and I would do something that I thought was fantastic, and she would tear it apart, not because she was hating on me, but because she saw something and wanted to draw that out of me. And so you need people around you who are not afraid to tell you the hard truth, and you need to be able to handle that and know that not everybody that says that's not a great idea is hating on you. Some people love you that much, and that's important. That's really important. And the last thing is systemize from the outset. Now, this might sound harsh, but if you don't have processes, you don't know what you're doing. How many times have you gone into an organization or even a hairdresser's? You go in on one occasion, they offer you tea, you get seated nicely. The next time you go in there, it's really random, no tea, no water, no nothing. It's not about the tea or the coffee. It's about a consistent level of service. It's about your people and your team knowing what they should be doing, you knowing what you should be doing, and people having an expectation. We talk a lot about innovation, great products, but let me tell you something. The greatest differentiator is service. If you learn how to serve your people well, they will come back time and time again. It doesn't have to be complicated. It doesn't have to be complicated at all. But the only way you're going to be able to deliver a high service is if you have processes. This doesn't have to be complicated. All you have to do is everything you do, just write it down in a Word document, just the steps that you take. And this is all about thinking your ability to scale. So, think like a big business even when you're small. And so you're just jotting down those processes, because you've got to remember, you're going to have team members, you're going to have people. And so you don't want to be having to figure out how you do this, because there's so many things that we do automatically. And then you only realize how much you do when you have to train someone. How many of us have had that experience? Like, oh my gosh, I didn't realize I did that much, until you have to kind of hand it off. So, make sure you have processes from the very beginning, okay? So like I said to you, and I practice what I preach. So everything that I do in my business is based on the 6 Ps. No wording here, but let me take you through these graphics. And they're actually in the wrong order, but let's go. So the first thing is purpose here. The first P is about purpose, and that's all about knowing your vision, your mission, but it's not just about that. It's in there we do the context, because something that is very important here is something called product market fit. Your product has to fit a real need in the market. In order to find that out, you have to do some research. So here, the first thing we do is your vision, your plan, your mission is amazing. Fine. But if there's no market opportunity, you don't have a business. See, let's be honest. The whole thing about business is making money. If your idea doesn't make money, it's not a business, it's a charity. And you don't have to make money immediately, that's fine. But it has to have revenue potential, and it's only going to have revenue potential if there's product market fit. See, when companies are going for investment, this is one of the biggest things they look for. If you're not going for investment, somehow it falls below the radar. So you've got to have product market fit. So it's purpose, product market fit, those sorts of things in the first P. The next thing is product. So here's where we talk about, okay, what are you going to sell? How are you going to make money? What is your product mix? What is your product what is your product roadmap? What is your business model? How are you going to commercialize your idea? That's all in product. We talk about pricing, all that good stuff. What does your product mix look like today? What does it look like tomorrow? How are you going to scale? So then the next thing is people. Who do you need on your A team? Who do you need on your launch team? This is where those tests come in handy. The Colby test and the 16 personalities test. Because what you don't want is people on your team that are clones of you. So you want to know where your strengths are, where your weaknesses, and find people on your team to plug the gap. We all need an A team. So who are your people? You know, it's possible to have a really great idea and it fail because you have the wrong people. And equally, it's possible to have a really poor idea and it do astronomically well because you have the right people on the team. How many products have we seen out there, artists even, and we're just like, how on earth has that even happened? They had the right people. So you need the right people. You need the right people. And a lot of us are of the mindset, oh, I can't afford the right people. There's ways and there's means. Everything from the Kickstarter to volunteers to mentorship, internships, there's options, but you need people. One of the biggest mistakes I made was going it alone too long by myself. It hampered my growth exponentially. I don't want you to make the same mistake. So you need people. The fourth P is promotion, marketing. Anyone notice I'm a marketer, been a marketer for 15 years. Haven't really spoken to you about marketing. Why? Because a lot of times what we do is we get out the gate and we think a launch is marketing and you say marketing doesn't work. Marketing without strategy is like building a house with no foundation. What we're doing is we're laying the foundation. The first 3 P's are laying the foundation. You only speak about promotion once the foundation is laid. The reason we struggle at the promotion and marketing level is because there's no foundation. So only here do we speak about promotion. I work with 2 types of marketing. The first is launch marketing. So what is the marketing activity you're going to do to get you out the gate? And then secondly, what marketing are you going to do to keep the engine running? So evergreen marketing. Let's go. The next one is processes. So I said that processes are the underpinning. I work with 3 fundamental core processes that everybody needs to get out the gate with. These are not comprehensive, but to start with, you need a lead generation process. How are you going to lead generation? Again, leads consistently into your business. You need a service delivery process. How are you going to serve those people that come into your business? You need an onboarding process so that when those people come into your business, they don't leave because your service is atrocious. 3 core services that you need fundamentally out the gate. Are we seeing why it takes 6 months to launch? So the next thing you need finally is profit. We have this all mixed up. So most people want to start with profit and promotion. You can't get profit until you have a business model that is validated, proven that you can scale. So profit is last because by the time we get there, we know what is going to work. We know that we have a viable business model. Then we work on how we're going to scale this. How are we going to grow this so you have legacy? So those are the 6 P's. And where am I with time, please? 11:25. We've got 5 minutes. We can do this. So like I said, everything that we do is based on the 6 P strategy. So if you're interested in working with me, how do you do that? A number of services. So you all have the Launch Lab on your seats. So that is just a digital platform where it has this whole course in it. So it has my 6P launch system, about 20 videos on the 6Ps that you can just access. It also has a launch toolkit, so my favorite launch tools, and it has a launch library, so other kind of webinars you do. I just wanted to give you something that you could get out the gate with. That has no one-to-one or support from me. That's just so that you can get out the gate. The other thing that I do is workshop on strategy days. So this is where we have a whole day together and we just map out your strategy. Because what I find is a lot of times I tell people what to do, but it's quite daunting. And a lot of times you need that support. So what we do is we just deep dive together. In fact, once a year, what I do is an annual launch strategy day called Revive. And so that is where I have up to 12 people. I host it in Asia House, Central London, beautiful venue where you can just come away and just plan your business. Just 12 people. I do that once a year. That's happening on the 20th of January. If you're interested in that, speak to Tanique or come to the stand. But that's just to 12 people. And so yeah, Tanique waving at the back. So pricing and everything, come to the stand for that. What else do I do? Oh, we have the planner as well. So again, I try to have something at every price point. So at whatever level you need support, whatever your budget is, you have something. We have these on the stand as well. These are normally £37. They're on the stand for £18.50. There's a card machine as well on there. And then I do consultancy, which is for larger companies, because a lot of people think that larger companies have this down pat, but a lot of them don't. And so I work with companies that are very established, but have gotten to where they are just because they've been entrepreneurial, but they reach this point that in order to get to the next level, they need to scale. So I do consultancy as well, which is a significant part of my business. So that's it. Do we have a couple of minutes for questions? Any questions? Sure. Thank you. Sure. Yeah, so coaching. So there's a number of coaches. Actually, Claudine, are you a coach? Claudine Reed, speak to Claudine Reed, who is an amazing coach. She actually has an MBE, has, I don't know how many years of experience, Claudine? 25 years of business experience. Now, these are the types of coaches that you need to be coached by. People who have skin in the game and have the records to show for it. So speak to Claudine for one. I'll just leave it there. Any other questions? No? Right, so, yeah, sure. Sure.
I think it's one of the reasons why I came to this session today is because for as much as I've been running the business, I'm about to launch a digital product in preparation for next year.
Yeah.
I think it's also good for entrepreneurs to come back into the
Yeah.
So that's one of the reasons why I wanted to come and support Katrina.
Yeah.
I know what business is. I'm running a workshop at 12:30 in theatre number 2.
12:30 theatre number 2. 12:30 theatre number 2. Yeah.
Everybody here is that it doesn't matter how far you are
Yeah.
on the journey, you always need to come back,
Yeah.
learn again, unlearn some stuff that
Exactly.
I learned 20 years ago, and then start again. So
Exactly. I really reiterate that. So, like Claudine's saying, she's been in business for 20 years. I've been a marketer for 15 years. I don't move without a coach, and I invest significant amounts of money in coaches because you're always having to learn, relearn, and it speeds up your learning process. It really does. So that's what I would say about coaching. Any other questions? No, well, thank you so much for joining. Come see me on the stand. I'm here for both days and speak to you soon.